Hello everyone, Kireth here. How are you doing? How are you doing? Do let us know in the comments if you want. You can do, it's up to you. But I'm here today to talk to you about what I think is the biggest feature, the most important feature confirmed for Gran Turismo 7. And that is dynamic weather. Now, I've been making videos on Gran Turismo 7 for ages, for years. And I had three features I really wanted in GT7. That was long multi-hour endurance races, driver swaps, and dynamic weather. And out of those three, dynamic weather is the only one at this moment in time that's confirmed. I've got on screen for you here a GT7 trailer, and you can see the dynamic weather indicator in the bottom left. It's 100 at the moment. It'll go down to, I can't remember what it is, 95 or something, as we go into the Dunlop tyre here at Tsukuba. But I want to explain to you, by the end of this video, I want you to understand why dynamic weather is a game changer. And I'm going to explain that through my experiences of real-world motorsport, because this is going to completely change Gran Turismo 7 compared to Gran Turismo Sport. You've got to remember that Gran Turismo Sport is a very, very, very static game. And if you read the interviews that Kaz Yamaguchi, the head honcho at Polyphony, gave around the time of GT Sport's launch, that is because they had to sacrifice a load of things to maintain that 60 frames a second frame rate that they really wanted in GT Sport. Now we've got the much more powerful horsepower in the PS5. They've got a lot more freedom for the PS5 version. How's the PS4 version going to look? I don't know. But GT Sport is a very static game. What does that mean? It means when you time trial, it's all about memorizing your braking points and hitting them as close as you can, and every lap it's the same. Nothing changes. You want to memorize those braking points as best as possible and get as close as possible to the ghost. So you can really brute force a time trial. And I know, I've brute forced a lot of time trial. I've streamed a lot of it. And by the way, if you want to see me streaming GT Sport and GT7 in the future, make sure to subscribe. Loads of people are enjoying these videos. If some of you just subscribed, we'd have 10,000 subscribers and it'd be crazy. So please do if you want. It's up to you. They're not forcing you. It's up to you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Now, real racing is not static. Real racing is very, very, very dynamic. So I'm a real world karter. I race in the karting championship in the UK, Club 100. We go all around the country in two-stroke karts. They go up to 70 miles an hour, quite high performance pieces of kit. Now, even in the dry, karting is very dynamic. Your tyres warm up, the brakes degrade, they get too hot over the course of the race, the fuel load gets lower, you tyre as well. And it means that every corner, every time you approach a corner on a different lap is different. And in the wet, that is increased 100-fold, literally 100-fold. So Gran Turismo 7 is going to be a much more dynamic game. What does that mean? What does that mean for you? Well, I think Gran Turismo 7 is going to reward a different style of driver. I think Gran Turismo 7 is going to much more reward people with good driving fundamentals, because you won't be able to just brute force your way around the lap. Every lap is going to be different. Now, we're still waiting to see to what extent the dynamism of the track is going to extend beyond, for example, rain. But they have talked about it a lot. They talked about using data from NASA. My hunch is that this is only going to apply to real-world tracks, which is fine by me. I prefer the real-world tracks. But if this dynamism extends to the track evolving even in the dry, absolutely huge, because you can no longer just rely on, well, the ghost brake there, so I'm going to brake exactly at that point every lap. You will have to adapt like drivers do in the real world. I've got on screen here a wet weather race I had with my karting teammates, actually. So we all raced together in the real world, and we came here and we raced in GT Sport at the Red Bull Ring. And the really interesting thing is here, I'm racing against karters that would lap me and do lap me in the wet in real life. So I'm racing against Roswell here, Nathan. These guys have lapped me in real life. Because in the wet, they are so much more skilled than me. And I'm on a level below them. But in the wet here in GT Sport, I can keep up because I brute force learning the track, and I just know every lap I've got to meet that braking marker. I don't have to worry about the wet weather line going away or dry line emerging or whatever. And so these drivers that are better than me are really not being rewarded for their skill. That's going to change in Gran Turismo 7, especially in the wet. So if you think you're a driver that, you've got good fundamentals, maybe you don't do as well in time trial as you like, maybe you think that you can't, spend as much time trialing as other people, GT7 could really be the game for you. Because the time trialing is less important if the track condition is going to change every lap. And I find that so exciting. That is a real game changer for me. It's also really important because, let's face it, the single player content in Gran Turismo Sport is fairly boring. Or at least I find it fairly boring. Because you've got completely static tracks, static lighting, and not the best AI from the AIM single player cars. Hey, Gran Turismo 7 is going to change all that. If you're someone that really enjoys just driving in ACC or driving in iRacing because you like the challenge of keeping the car on the track, sounds like you're going to love the single player in GT7 because suddenly it's going to become a challenge again. And I think we'll look back at GT Sport and think, wow, that was such a static game. Even think back to Super GT doing his 200 laps of the Nürburgring in exactly the same time of day. I mean, I was lucky. I did 8 hours of Hockenheim on iRacing in a go. Literally 8 hours in my seat. And I was lucky because there was time of day. I was lucky because the track was evolving. And that kept me mentally challenged and that kept me going. And I just wouldn't be able to do that in GT Sport because it's way, way, way too static. It's just doing the same. Every time you go over the start-finish line, it's the same lap again. It's like Groundhog Day. GT7 is going to change all that. So let me know in the comments, are you looking forward to dynamic weather in Gran Turismo 7? Or do you think this is just going to make things more difficult? Because it is going to make things more difficult. You'll no longer be able to look at a track guide and be like, yeah, that track guide is going to just be everything I need for time trial and the race. I think GT7 is going to be much more of a driver's game. What does that mean for FIA? What does that mean for Daily Race C if Daily Race C is still going to be the daily race where things have, tyre wear, fuel consumption, and now dynamic weather? Does it blow it wide open? I think it blows it wide open. I think with dynamic weather, kind of everyone's got a chance. I mean, imagine when GT7 comes out, you're getting ready for your FIA round, you've done a bit of practice, you're racing for your manufacturer, you go into the lobby and it's raining. And it's dynamic, so you don't know if the rain's going to stop. You're going to be out trapped. Is it time to come in for soft tyres yet? You've got the Lando Norris moment at Sochi. Do you stay out? I mean, how exciting is that? You also got to remember, by the way, iRacing doesn't have wet weather. This is a feather in the cap of GT7 that iRacing doesn't have, which is pretty cool. And I think it complements the position that Gran Turismo 7 is taking with regards to being an old school Gran Turismo game, car collection, single player campaign. Because I think this completely livens up the single player stuff in the way that in GT Sport it's just hardly anyone's bothered with the single player, I think. So I'm very, 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 very excited about this, as you can tell. I really want to hear from you though. Are you also excited by this, or do you not think it's a big deal? I wonder because I race in the real world, I feel like this is going to blur the lines to me. It's going to complement the things I'm learning in the real world. I'll be able to apply in GT7. What I learn in GT7, I can apply in my real world racing. And it's going to take it away from this artificial Groundhog Day, very static, every lap is a time trial place where we are at the moment. So yes, let me know in the comments. Looking forward to hearing from you as always. I think we have the best community, by the way. The comment section is always alive with good banter and good debate. But until next time, happy racing.